right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/team up.
The other. You talked to John today?
They're invisible
it's just
on
been
anything other
one thing
than a
after another.
specific paper. They're very cool.
Yeah,
On weekends, are you typically busy helping family?
I know.
I think, it's one of those things that when you've got so much
Yeah,
going
they
on,
had their list already because they're in the grade. They
you
had
can't
their list
keep
for
up.
math.
Just things fall, not fall, things just don't.
We don't have our list yet.
They just did it right on the schedule.
That's what it is.
only so many.
There's only so many things you can do. And
I
exactly.
drove up to
And
So then
Minnesota
Tanner goes, where's my list? And I says, Piper, let's make
Dropped
Tanner.
me
now you finally
Saturday.
get
So she
something
writes it all
mirror
out for me.
today. She was up there.
She writes
okay,
this
this
list.
is a train wreck.
And then we're gonna go to the store.
How we would have the train wreck.
Definitely, gotta do that.
It's 5 o'clock.
Whenever
I'm
you're
ready whenever you are, and Leanne's coming from being interviewed for OCA's Oregon Minute. So she's coming from the high school, so she'll pop in and help out with minutes when she comes back, so.
Oregon Talks.
There she is.
There she Yes. is. Yeah, I moved here. All right. I'll do roll call while you get this.
All right, let's
Okay.
call this meeting to order.
This is just wrong.
5:01. So, ready for roll call anytime that works for you.
All right. Knutson,
Here.
McDaniel. Here. Rhodey,
Here,
Frisch, Miller,
present.
Herneman,
Present.
and Dave Jamison is absent.
That is correct. So on the third item for our agenda, the approval of minutes from June 11th, 2024. That is planned for September, so we don't have that as yet. So item 4 was public appearance. Any opportunity for anybody who would like to communicate and talk? What are you shaking your head no for? So we don't have anybody that would like to speak to the park board, so I appreciate that. Moving on to item 5, village staff reports, public works. So we're talking about JCP.
JC Community Park update.
Hi, James.
JC Community Park update, topsoil is being placed. Irrigation will begin in the next couple weeks. We were super excited to be able to, we worked with the contractor to open the playground. It was all done, and all we had to do is they agreed to run the perimeter fence around the playground so that it's still protected from the rest of the construction site, but not tempting so that kids aren't jumping the fence or parents aren't throwing their kids over the fence or anything like that to get into the playground. But have any of you been over to it?
Driven by it.
Yeah, yeah.
I saw it when I was playing pickleball with my family.
Yeah, it looks great. Everything turned out really nice, and we also have the adult fitness equipment over there. And that's for kids of all ages, we like to say, all the way up to 100, I guess. And so that's coming along nicely. Everything's really on schedule. We hope to have grass seed planted by the contractor before Labor Day. That'll give us hopefully enough to get it established, semi-established, and then it'll take all next season for growing. But it's looking great. We have really good contractors out there, and and the nice thing is the fields and everything seem to be holding up really well on the ones that are being used this year. So, yeah. Any questions on
Comments from the park board? Lynn?
J.C. Park?
I was just going to say that my family ripped out of the house the minute we knew it was open. My son fell off a swing within minutes and bounced literally
Bounced, yes.
right back up because of the new surfacing, so we appreciate that. And per my husband, the scavenger hunt pieces, the interactive pieces, there's like, I don't know, games that you can play or
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. He was a big fan of that. Felt like
Nice.
it was it's a nice park that, like you said, attracts all ages to sort of participate.
And abilities.
Yeah. So I appreciate that added feature to this park
Yeah.
as opposed to some of the other ones.
Yeah, and there's some adaptive needs out there for autistic children and people, as well as those with different abilities, that swings, the spinner, and everything like that and stuff. So, yeah, we're excited every time things come around. And what's neat is I'm starting to get phone calls from I'm not starting, but I've been getting phone calls from other communities that tell me a little bit about this. Someone visited our community, they loved it, and I'm getting calls from their DPWs, from their park people, from the town people saying, how'd you do this? How much was this? All that type of stuff. So that usually tells us all we're doing something right,
Cool.
for once, right? Yeah, it's nice. I think that's out. Well, let's see, are there any other? I'm also gonna just say, we're working with some neighbors in Gary Dish Park, to select the playground equipment, that we'll be putting in for a grant. That's a 50% grant through this company. And if selected for this grant, which we think we will be, we will then purchase the equipment this year, and then we will install it next spring, or have it installed next spring, down in that kind of flat area below the parking area. and
So
stuff.
it would be down in the flat area after the hill. so
Correct,
we'll get into that.
correct, exactly. So, and that's actually quite a bit ahead of where the schedule would normally be, but, it's great, it'll be
How's
good.
the grass working?
Needs some work. That's what we're going to look at, possibly using I keep forgetting what it is, but it's got a whole bunch of spikes on it.
Aerator?
Huh?
Some aerator of some type?
Yeah, but it's more like spikes versus plugs. And, so we'll kind of be looking at that this spring with maybe some overseeding. And I walked it the other day. It's not bad, but it's about where we would expect it to be, given a non-irrigated field and everything, but
And the trees are doing well? They look like they are?
all except for the pine trees. Those are on our list to yank and transplant. And honestly, we have been pulled so many different directions this year. Our list of what we call extra things to do that aren't mission critical, we're chipping away at them, but that's just one of the things that they're still out there. There's about 6 or 7 dead pine trees. But the remainder of the trees that we planted last year and watered did really well and continue to do really well.
That very first home on the entrance from MM, they had a problem with the evergreens too. They had to
Yeah,
replace all of
they
those.
can be finicky. The ones that died, honestly, what I found out later is we had water bags for all the trees, but we did not have water donuts for the pine trees. And the water donuts are just what you think. They're they're like a little donut shaped thing, and so they only go up that high, which is more for a pine tree. We didn't have those. I did not know that. Trees did not get watered. People who were watering them didn't let me know. Some of our summer LTEs, and so they died. So
Okay. Any other comments from the
I
park
have a
board?
question.
Andy?
How's the shed construction at JC Community Park?
it's great.
Is it almost done, or I guess what was the status? I couldn't really see.
Yeah, so the status of that, right now, the delay after our last meeting was, steel siding. So the masonry's done, the walls are up.
Yeah.
You've seen, all the framing's done. They were working on the roof. But the holdup right now had been the exterior steel siding that goes kind of in a vertical pattern all the way around. That they were gonna work on possible solution to move ahead with possibly siding it with some like OSB or something like that to allow them to move ahead, and then they would just attach the siding in a couple weeks.
Sure.
But it's moving ahead. Bauer's doing a fantastic job on it.
What's the plan for the community groups that want access to it? Is it
Yeah.
a key box or?
It'll probably be a number box, that, I mean, that's what we have spec'd is both keys as well as number box. We're gonna view this building pretty much as a community use building, not just public works. And we'll be working with our parks manager, which we hope to hire on January 9th. He'll be, not giving it away, it's half the population, I just gave it away, but, no. He'll be, kind of working with the groups to see what kind of room they need and space they need and what they need to store. And I'll kind of be challenging him with, breaking that up and figuring what people need, and, how it'll best work in that building. It's a big building, I mean, and we'll be putting in shelving, possibly some cages, that type of stuff.
Are you gonna let the groups use it before that, or are you gonna wait till there's someone to kind of manage it and oversee it before you let people move in?
Well, the building won't be done for another month and 2 months.
Sure.
And probably won't be completely done with punch list and everything until end of September, early October. So it really won't have that kind of problem. I mean, I foresee we'll get the building, we'll have to then upfit it with shelving and racking and other stuff like that. It'll take some time, but, we won't be delaying letting people use it.
Good.
Yeah. Is there a concern that you have?
No, I'm just
Okay.
curious.
Yeah, because if there's something that, if you hear from a club like, this is killing us, we don't have spot for something, I'm not aware of anyone that, baseball was a little concerned, but they've got some temporary sheds out there.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I heard is it's not big enough because they wanted to put indoor batting cages somewhere, and I said, we'll go raise some money and find a way to do it yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's not, I mean, that's.
I mean, that's not what they used this for.
It was never intended to be a batting cage, building, so, yeah.
Did you mean to say January for when he's starting?
Mm-mm.
You said January 9th.
Yes, you did.
September 9th, I'm
I was
sorry.
gonna say, wow, we're really hiring out. Like, we're,
No, September 9th.
got
Oh.
it. Okay.
Sorry, I said January, my apologies.
I guess the other thing I noticed too is the dugouts at Kaiser were finally finished. Or within the last couple of months. I
Yeah.
don't know if we've ever talked about that. So that was a project that a group came together to do.
Yeah, those
support, so
were
that's nice.
finished, those were done very nicely, we got the final bill a little while ago. I don't know if you've noticed, actually, it's another thing, there's been just so much stuff going on. But, we had the bathroom re-roofed and new soffit and fascia at Kaiser. We had the 2 dugouts re-roofed, is that Kaiser 2? I think it is, over near the Lion Shelter. Lion Shelter was also supposed to be re-roofed, I think that's being done this next week. And then, the, shelter will have new roof and soffit and fascia put in. And then, we'll follow with what we did to the other shelter at JC Park with the wood underneath, update the lighting and all of that. So, but we also have to work around, we have the kids triathlon coming in 2 weeks. So we wanna make sure that we're not interrupting that.
Other questions, comments from the park board? good, Jeff.
Thank you.
Good job, Jeff.
Glad I can help.
So on 5B, the community development of the Conservation Parks Master Plan. Any update in regards to that?
Do you want to start this one,
I can-
Lynn? And I can.
We'll
I
see
have
how
actually
I
some
do.
updates even from yesterday.
Ooh,
so,
exciting.
yeah.
So this is, I'm so excited to share this with you guys. I will be transparent and tell you that we presented it to the village board on Monday. But obviously this is a park board thing, so we wanted to come to you as well in order to get your seal of approval, hopefully before submitting this. So backstory really quickly is last time we met, specifically Andy, you had asked to move Conservation Park Master Planning up in the CIP. And we all voted in favor of that. Jeff had mentioned that funding for that we can put in the CIP, but also just time and, you know, the overwhelming amount of things that are on the plate for next year means that this might get a little tight. And so I reached out to the DNR to see if I could find some grant funding or some support. Unfortunately, for planning purposes, they don't really have much. It's more for like actual construction and design, implementation sort of pieces. So I reached out to CARPSI, which is an organization that Elise has introduced me to. You work quite closely with CARPSI for a lot of things, yes?
Yep. There are regional planning commissions. So
Perfect.
Bring kind of all the counties around Madison together on
Yeah.
planning issues. Mhm.
So I thought planning, they might be able to help. And they introduced me to this program. So this is a UW-Madison, their Department of Planning program has a capstone project, sort of a senior final project. They take applications from mostly places in Wisconsin, but around the country. And if you are granted the project, you get a team of students who will come and do a series of things. So in the packet, it shows this little diagram. Jeff, if you'd go to page 7, I think it does a nice job of, so they would come and do site visits. They would do studies on the space. They would do some inventory and analysis, which would be quite helpful for this area specifically. And then the second semester, they do some design, they do some stormwater management, grading, and then by the end of May, they'd have a project kind of proposal. Now, this would not necessarily be something we'd be tied to. It would be an idea, kind of a starting place. If we go to actually implement anything, we'd be hiring a firm to do that, obviously, so that we could have all of the numbers that we need for that. But this would be a really nice jumpstart on some of the preliminary work that needs to get done, and utilizing a different resource for that, meaning this UW project. Before I give it to Elise, the only thing I also wanted to make sure that you are aware of is that I talked to Martin at the village board meeting, and it does not mean that we wouldn't have the 60,000 in the CIP. We'll still have it in there for this. If we don't need all of that or we don't use it this year, we can adjust that. We don't expect this UW program to be that costly, obviously. So, but it's not as if we're going to wipe that away. So I wanted that to be clear that, you know, obviously some other planning would have to occur, but this would at least get us started. How'd I do?
Good.
Thanks.
Wait, can you list all the parks?
Oh yeah, this is the quiz. There's 6. Right?
Florida Avenue, Dega, DiMaggio, West Side Parks, Keller Alpine, Lerner.
Yep.
See, I missed West Side on Monday, but I got it.
Yep.
Thanks, Lynn. So a couple other things to add. So yesterday was on a call, unrelated call with a local developer who's looking for other opportunities. They've worked a lot in Oregon, and this particular individual who works in their development team actually graduated from this program, and I happen to remember that because he works with another one of his former classmates, so they were both UW-Madison landscape architecture grads in this bachelor kind of professional track program. So I happened to see his colleague's name on this list of testimonials. His colleague Connor worked in Sturgeon Bay, and I was like, "Oh, did you do a project?" And he told me about it. He actually worked on a project in Madison, one of their city parks, and so that was super helpful because I got kind of the student perspective, what that was like, how much time he spent on the project. I think, so that was about 10 years ago, but his understanding is that the program's pretty similar. He actually connected me with the professor who's requesting these applications so that he knew to potentially expect something from me. And also just, he said, if you have any best practices or recommendations, but I kind of gave him an overview of what we were thinking and that it would be, a strong community input component to this. And was that something that students are kind of interested in or up for? He said definitely some more than others, but making sure that that's clear, that will, kind of attract students who are interested in that type of a project. And he said the ones in Dane County or nearby are definitely highly desired since it's easy to get to. So he told me that actually it's typically just one student who works on this project. I'd assumed it was like a small team, a group,
I
group
figured it was
project.
just one student.
Yeah, so it's one student. He said his project, and this sound pretty similar to the other ones, spent quite a bit of time. He said probably an average of like 20 hours a week on the project. So this is sort of their senior capstone, thesis, if you will. And then they actually have volumes of all the former projects done by the students. So those are, it's called
Online.
something artsy, like Waves or something. There's various volumes that you can look up. And so he was like, oh, here's I think Contours. So he said, oh, here's the Contours volume 4. This was his year of projects. And they have also testimonials from the professionals they worked with there, and that it was a great experience. So that was helpful to know. It's likely going to be one student if we pursue this, but quite a bit of time. And I was also just trying to gauge, is this the right size of project? Is this too big or too small? And he said typically, even if it's kind of a larger area, they would spend, the first semester understanding the full area, but then it might be, okay, we're going to focus on one potential project or one type of, again, more of a conceptual plan for an area. The nice thing about some of these parks is that they're already in a conservation easement, so there's limited opportunities for what could even happen. We can't fully open Pandora's box on some of these, even if there's interest, because just either given site conditions or restrictions that are already in place on the properties, probably not able to build, large facilities or something like that, even if there was interest in that. So could be something like, our focus is connecting these parks through trails, boardwalks, whatever that might be, and maybe the student is kind of designing a potential new trail layout or whatever that might look like. But yeah, again, Lynn, I think this guy Connor yesterday who was talking to, they're both named Connor.
Is this a Connor Net or Connor?
That was Connor Net, yeah.
Connor,
So
okay.
he, I'll just go ahead and throw him under the bus, but no, he was super helpful, and he said that, again, this is, I think, a type of project that students would be really interested in. And I think, I'm not sure how many communities apply for this, so I don't know what our chances are, but again, the fact that we're local, we proposed, they asked kind of about a budget too, and he said, like, I don't even remember having a budget as far as anytime I was printing something or something like that, that was just my personal cost, which I don't think is really fair to ask a student to do. So I think covering, if it's, we're doing a survey or presentation materials or something like that, that we would cover those costs, but again, probably pretty minimal, or travel costs to get down here. But it'd be the full school year, and I'd probably be the lead person with Jeff probably as backup, but we'd make sure that if they're in front of public meetings or writing surveys, we're obviously going to be proofreading what they're putting out. We'd be right by them, making sure we're not putting a 22-year-old student in front of a room full of people if they don't, until they get some experience under their belt. So that's what I learned. But yeah, depending on if you guys have other feedback, we'll also have some background documents like aerial images, the historical aerial images that are available on Access Dane of what these properties have looked like since the 70s. Some former plans that were done, our park plan, our corp that was adopted last year, as background info. And I assume if and when a student would get on board, we could be able to share more info with them. And then obviously, you guys would be kind of the steering committee. I don't know if you kind of mentioned that too.
I didn't,
So
but that's important.
yeah, so they asked who's kind of the steering committee or driving force behind this. So I think park board makes the most sense, that they would be giving presentations and updates, and if there's maybe community feedback, it could happen potentially at a park board meeting or separately, or if there's a survey or something going out, you guys are taking a look at that. But
Possibly even Rotary. which has
yeah,
been-
I did reach
which
out
has been
to
involved for a
Rotary
very long
Club too,
time
to
period.
kind of give them a heads up that this was gonna be in the packets for tonight and for Monday night. They were super supportive and really interested in, providing feedback. I learned, I share this with the board meeting too, but Lerner Park originally was a UW-Madison landscape architecture capstone project, so kind of a full circle moment. That was an idea from a student that came to fruition, and then Rotary kind of picked it up. And Connor, who was talking to you yesterday, he said actually his project in Madison, it's Law Park was the park he was looking at, but they're actually doing a renovation right now, and he said, not that they're taking all my ideas, but it's cool to see at least some of the concepts that I had come up with. They're following through with, and it sounds like quite a few communities actually, again, take it to a further step with professionals, but they use the student ideas as a jumping off point. So again, knowing that this would probably conclude in May, we could kind of decide in the spring too if we want to borrow anything further, if we want to jump right into kind of phase 2 of a plan, or wait until we get a little bit closer to being ready to do construction of some improvements. I guess kind of just depending on the direction this goes and what recommendations they'd come up with.
Comments?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What risks do we assume by doing this? I mean, so if we have a student do it, we're kind of tied up for the whole year, right? But seeing as how we didn't really have anyone ready to do any planning there, I mean, I guess I would take that as a win. It's not like we're doing this and pushing off any formal planning because we didn't have anyone lined up.
Right, we'd start as early as next month instead of probably,
Year.
next spring.
Sure.
As the earliest.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't see, we felt it was kind of very low risk, high reward, even if it is a springboard for a much more official, depending on, if a student is really diligent and does an exceptional job, I mean, this could cost, or could save a lot of money that could then be put towards park development.
Sure.
And, I think, when we talked about it, we were like, this is a perfect project for a student, because there's a lot of information, they're not starting from ground zero. But there's a lot of work that can be done, and it involves a lot of different things, including the public input part, the, generating the concepts, possibly some cost estimating, a final report, presentations, all of that.
Would the village, I guess, where would the village hold recommendations from a student project versus some official planning company doing this? I mean, are they weighed differently? Are they weighed the same? Or are we using this and then using that to kind of move into something more formal?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't done a lot of student projects before. Obviously, you guys are the recommending body to the board, which are policymakers, so it's kind of up to you guys, depending on, again, we don't really know what the end
Right.
result's gonna be. Hopefully, again, we'd be kind of guiding them and giving them feedback through the process, so to make sure it's feedback that's gonna be useful and helpful to us. But I would see it as, probably, again, timing could shift, but that what's come up with there, I mean, similar like our downtown master plan we're working on right now, it's not gonna come out and we're gonna immediately go into construction of something, but it's gonna come out with a set of recommendations, it's gonna come out with a summary of community input, surveys, stakeholder interviews, that kind of thing. So probably more of a summary document about, this are all the people I talked to, this is what I heard from them, this is what I learned about the parks, the land, here's kind of current site conditions, here's opportunities, and here are, constraints. We asked about, asking them to get into, and we might want to word this differently, about like looking for grant opportunities for some of those things, even just basic, having them look into, if we're looking into boardwalk or something like that, or maybe it's more the direction of, we want to have more interpretive educational signage out there, and that's what the student focuses on, is a signage plan for talking about wildlife and plant life that's out there. we can kind of guide what direction it goes. I think, again, the more specific we can be upfront, then we can hopefully get a student that's going to be interested and successful at getting us there.
Yeah, I guess my just reservation on it would be the fact that we're trying to do master planning for 6 properties, and we're having a landscape architect, student do it. It's like, so I guess maybe rephrasing what the overall goal is, and not necessarily having a master plan, but trying to understand more of what the properties are, what's feasible. It's like, when I think of a master plan, I look at something like we've done for other parks, or even Anderson, where it kind of lays out, this is what you're going to do for the next 30 years as
Yeah.
you develop this park. But I don't think that's what we would get from a student.
Really? I think we could. I mean, that's the way I envision it. It
Or
would
maybe
come
it's
out with
rewording
a-
as a concept plan instead of a master
well,
plan.
I mean, I think out of this will come things like boardwalks, viewing, what do you call it, viewing platforms, connector trails, signage, projects that, whether it's an outdoor amphitheater for night sky classes,
And
that
even the
type.
flood zone area.
Yeah, we wouldn't be asking
and-
them to design
Design
the
those-
amphitheater, but just it's
This is
more
what
of a
was wanted.
bubble,
sure.
or
I
like
mean,
a bubble diagram or a concept diagram. This would be a good location for something like that.
You remember the very early Anderson Park, were you part of that?
No,
Huh?
I got there right after the master plan was put in.
Okay, but I mean, it was everything. People, obviously you
Right.
throw in Sledding Hill, I believe, there were ball diamonds, there were all sorts of things that were put in there, and it's just kind of a, and I'm sure at that time, there was kind of a general cost of, doing
Sure.
each thing. But, landscape architecture, that's what they do, right?
Sure.
It's kind of that big idea type of stuff, not the, well, can we really build that there or not,
Yeah. I mean, because with Anderson, there was, this is the goal of the park. This is what the feel of the park is going to be. That's why there's no ball fields out there, So if we
Yeah, right.
kind of define what these west side properties are, as far as conservation, at least then he knows what direction to go
Yeah.
based on having those conversations. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the testimonials, and it says things like renderings and designs. The second one says that she gave ideas for a green space. So I do think that it could be somewhat specific. And I think the nice thing is that then we can take that and say we like this part and we don't like this part. And when we hand it to someone as a professional, we've kind of done a ton of the early legwork,
yeah.
and potentially that puts together a plan. I will also say that when I was talking to the DNR about applying for, do you know the name of that grant?
Nelson Knowles Stewardship Grant.
The Nelson Knowles Stewardship Grant. These are the things that they want in order to get the grant. So at the very least, this will give us a lot of those things to potentially look at funding
Correct.
for that second piece, which is the implementation. So if we don't necessarily use any of the design, we will have a lot of the concept pieces that the DNR needs.
Yep.
For
Yes.
us.
Good find, man.
Yeah.
Good job.
It's all about people. If you just email enough people, Judy, someone will get
say
you something, right?
Fine, here you go. Leave me alone. There's enough emails.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The other thing I will say, and kind of like similar to the downtown master plan, is maybe it's not coming up with specific designs that are going to move right into construction, but a lot of the point of that, and I think this too, would be building community consensus around goals, future goals for the park. It's important to know the history and again, what are the soil conditions and plants that are there and everything like that. But then also, okay, if the general mood is more interested in this set of uses versus this set of uses, okay, well then you can document that through all your interviews and surveys and things like that. And then here's some potential uses or designs that kind of align with that community, goal or intended use for this park. So there's, again, I think timing wise, we're not going to really lose a lot of time if we really wanted to do a deep dive and work with a professional next year. I think we still have plenty of time and the funds to do that if we wanted. There's no obligation to use this plan if it heads in a totally different direction or we don't feel like it was enough, then it was a good experience for a student, but we're not tied to it.
Sure.
But again, hopefully we'd be guiding them so that they're providing something that's going to be useful to us.
Do you run the risk of alienating people by saying Conservation Parks Master Plan? Because I'm sure sports people will still look at that northwest corner of Westside Park and say, hey, that's flat, we should put ball fields there.
Yeah.
Possible. yeah.
Not that I want them there, but
No,
it just
Really?
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
No, I
I'm pretty
didn't
clear
know
about
that.
that. But if we're doing master plan, you want to make it seem. I mean, without having a consensus from the board a couple years ago saying we want to preserve all that, and where they kind of pushed that down the road and said we're going to wait till the parks
Yep.
plan and wait for master planning to really protect all of that. You know, so it's still a possibility to drop something else, essentially where West Side Park is.
Yeah.
That's not
I
conservation.
don't think there was ever any decision made on changing any of that at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I think
Yeah,
it was,
Recommendations.
yeah, it was,
Right, it was recommended to keep it as conservation, but it was never taken off the table that it could be something else.
correct,
Yeah.
correct.
I think we have it listed as conservation parks master plan in the CIP because again, it's 6 parks and they are all adjacent to each other. So if anybody has a better idea of how to name that,
Right.
open to ideas.
No, I'm fine with
Um,
conservation parks master plan because to me
Yeah.
that steers it in the direction that I would like to see it go.
Again, I think that's good. I think that's helpful that we could meet with the student ahead of time and just sort of say like most of these seem like they need to be. I mean, the DNR is going to pretty much say that most of them have to be
Right.
conservation.
Yeah.
We can give them heads up that West Side could be something if they want to ask a specific question on a survey. I think that would be really useful, and we could kind of put that to bed and make sure that we know exactly what people want. So I think helping a student understand there's a lot of history in this area that we probably will need to catch them up on if we get this, so that they know what they're walking into. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Jinx.
I think this is awesome to be able to bring that together. Appreciate Linda finding that and uncovering this. Having an association with the university, I think, is another real strong plus. Kind of open-ended, clear perspective. Sometimes when going to a private or to a private or individual corporation, sometimes your focus is going to be a little more so. And chances are we're not going to find as much of that creative manipulation that can happen with some of those. They want to follow into their zones. So potentially we'll end up having a lot more open-ended mind off of it, and gives us the ability to do that. So I think that's awesome. Any other comments? Do we need to act on this? Do you would like that, or did it already go to the village board?
It went to the board. I think their hope is to submit it, and but it would be nice. I think if you guys are in support, to have a motion that you're also in support of sending in the application. It's due on Friday, so I'll probably chat with Lynn and Jeff a little bit more tomorrow. Just make sure we've got everything noted that we want, and then get it submitted on probably Friday morning.
We call for a motion to approve as submitted.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
We get a second? Any other further discussion in regards to it?
Judy.
All in favor, state by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? So moved. Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Lynn.
Yeah, no problem.
So on item 5C, recreational programming coordination report, the upcoming Sounds of Summer concerts, maybe some of the past concerts too.
Yeah, sure. So far so good. We've lucked out with weather. I mean, miraculously, the same day it cleared up on the radar. So it was we've had some hot nights, but honestly, when you're under the trees, it's really fantastic. It's comfortable, and I tend to run hot. I don't like being hot. So if I'm saying that, it is comfortable. But they've been really successful so far. We took a break last night for National Night Out. We're taking a break this Tuesday for the election. And then we come back on the 20th with Marcy and the Highlights. I have not seen them, but I know a lot of people are
Just a
excited.
lot of energy.
Yeah, I've heard that they're fantastic. And then we end on August 27th, our grand finale with Universal Sound. We're very excited.
There we go, Dan.
How quickly did the ice cream melt when you were doing the ice cream?
Not quick enough.
No, it was, we had a lot of sore forearms, I think.
Do you want to explain why?
Oh, so we.
Jeff. It's in the past.
It's in the past.
Yes.
We're-
The
So
ice
we-
cream has been eaten.
We
now,
ran a
so-
little early, so the ice cream did not have the proper amount of time to soften.
Yes,
So, yes, so it was.
that's right.
I'd rather have it that way.
We rallied.
Just pouring it in a Coke.
We rallied.
A couple ice cream scoops were broken in
Yeah,
the
we're
process.
broken in the process.
Yes.
Some casualties.
It was good though. It was fun. It was good. Right?
It was
worked out
absolutely,
great.
it was great.
He
Yeah.
was happy because it was free ice cream. So,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've never seen a line form so fast
Yeah.
in my life.
Awesome. Item 2, 5C2.
Yes, so we have our second outdoor movie night coming up. Please note the date change. The correct date is Saturday, September 14th. So I'm bringing in the professionals this time to help with the AV aspect of the movie. So because of that, we did have to change the date. So it will be Saturday night, and we're gonna play Wonka. It's the newer one with Timothée Chalamet. If you haven't seen it, it's absolutely wonderful.
What do you mean by professionals?
So last time I decided to save the money, and I thought, oh, I could do this. And no, I cannot do that. So I had a few knights in shining armor, especially the 1, 2 to my left, actually both of them to my left, that helped me out. And now I know why
We made
this.
it work.
We made it work.
We rallied.
We rallied.
yeah.
It worked. It was
worked great.
ultimately, we had a delay, but it worked.
Kids had fun.
But this time I would rather just punt to the professionals. And they have a tech that stays
Yeah.
there, so even if something does come up, I may not even know about it. That's how wonderful it's going to be having these people there. So yeah, it was worth the 1-day date
Yeah.
change. Absolutely.
Who would have thought that the projector and the sound system were going to be critical parts of a movie?
I know.
I know.
Right?
I
know.
No, we learned a lot. That was
We
really,
learned a lot.
That
Yes,
was fun.
absolutely.
we had a good time.
Hmm.
Awesome.
Yes, and expect lots of sugar to go with the theme.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy. Any other programming updates?
Nope.
Okay, hearing none. Moving on to item 6, unfinished business. We were talking about looking at parks and any kind of in-person visits. Anybody have a chance to look at parks?
Yeah, I was at Norm Champion Park today because whenever I drive by it, I noticed all the suckers sticking up by all the trees right by the playground, so I cut all those off and cleaned it up.
Oh, around on the trees.
Yeah,
On
the trees from the between right by the street and between there and the playground. So
Thank you.
I cut
Yeah.
them all off and dropped them off today.
Thank
So-
you.
So it looks a lot better.
Any other ones?
Where did you drop them off?
Brush pile.
Oh.
Your yard.
Now, Jamie.
Yeah.
You even know yet? You threw them away?
Yeah.
We visit a park almost every weekend, so we're there a lot. But Mary Hill, I think somebody suggested Mary Hill to me the other park board meeting because it's hidden. It's so cool.
Yeah.
My kids thought like it was this magical. They were complaining to me about going down the path because they were like, "There's nothing here, Mom," and then it like opens up to this playground. So I just think that's such a cool little gem we have that
What path did you use to get there? There's 4.
the paved one off of
There are 4 paved paths. Off the end of a cul-de-sac or off
is the
of
north side.
Richards Road.
Richards Road.
Yeah,
There
okay.
we go.
That's the short path.
The short one. Well, they complained for a long time about it, but
It's like a little. It's like a what do you call it? Secret garden back there.
yeah, it really is.
It really is.
Yes, and my kid, I appreciated being able to say "I told you so" to my kids, and they were like, "Why are we doing this?"
So that planned. We're going to be redoing the basketball courts in the
great.
next month and a half, 2 months, where those will be completely ground up, new asphalt placed down, new striping. I ordered brand new backboards for all of the and rims and nets, and so
Which parks are those? Is that
that's
Burrell?
Mary Hill,
Mary Hill?
Gassner on the sledding hill, and Bethel Greenacre.
So there's 3.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And we're doing stump grinding back there, if you saw some stumps, and dead tree removal.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
unless
Any-
Andy gets there first.
I'm good. I do have a question for you, Jeff, though.
Yeah,
What I can't remember the road. Southwoods Edge, they're right next to Ann Michael's house. So that's on the north side of Stone Ridge Park in the woods there. in the past, there had been a wood chip trail that runs, just on the east side of her house. It's really overgrown. I mean, is that an official path to get back into the park, or
The
was that
neighbors
just?
have always
Okay.
done that with we've always dropped wood chips off there, but the neighborhood's always spread that around back there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know if the village had an easement, right between the two properties.
We do. I mean, I think it's either an easement or it's an outlot.
Okay.
But yeah, that's another area back there that just is totally unknown unless you stumble into
Right.
it.
I mean, because that path, you can't even tell it it's a path anymore. So
Right.
I didn't know if that's whose umbrella that falls under.
Yeah, if we get time and energy for it or staff for it, we could do something with it. But normally it's been Ann and some of those neighbors
Sure.
back there.
And then my other question is what's going to happen, this may or may not be park related, but where South Perry and Alpine meet there, you guys just took out that little stub road at the end of Oakwood Drive.
Yeah,
Uh,
asphalt, the sidewalks are all coming out, and we're putting a new sidewalk through there just to connect north or east to west.
what's going to happen to that lot?
It'll just be grassed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like a park, but not really a park.
And
It's just
no,
an
it's not
empty
really even
lot.
a park. It's a weird shaped
Yeah.
parcel back there because some of it is actually Bergamot HOA.
Okay.
Some of it is village right away, and it's just a remnant. And we will likely, we might do. It'll take a while, but we'll probably give additional land to each
Sure. Yeah, that's why I was curious.
person
Just
there.
what's
But
gonna
we'll
happen.
still maintain probably about a 30 or 40 foot access back there to the pond, even though it's maintained by Bergamot.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and it'll just be dirt and grass back there.
Any other parks? I went to Norm Champion as well, but I went down the soccer field and walked around, because some of those people back up to the soccer field, so, and notice how there's a lot of water that out in that area, so even as you go up, and I know some people that live up in the water flow, so you can see there's a lot of water and a lot of grass that grows back there, so, it's the crickets, so, other lively things that are out there, but it's a nice area. It's probably limited in terms of parking out in front, so it's a large space, but not a lot of room that you can actually park. Continue to search out those other parks. There's other places that are out there, kind of nice areas within Oregon. So we're very grateful to have many of these locations. Awesome. So thank you for
I have
taking.
one, I have one more thing, and it's just it's a question for Nicholas. Did you ever put all your notes together? Because you said you were going through all the parks and you had some notes, but you hadn't shared them yet. I was just curious what you had found.
I not yet. I can do it for next time.
Yeah, I think that would be great just to see what you think about all the parks.
No, that would be great. Awesome. Thank you for bringing
I
that
took
up.
photos of each one, so I'll probably have to go back through.
Documentary.
There's a lot to look at.
Yeah.
Awesome. Item 7, new business. We're talking about 7A, reservation system, and looking for that in 2025. That goes back to you.
Yes, so this is something we've been discussing for a while behind the scenes, I think, even before I came onto the scene, about, just that being kind of a crucial part of streamlining the whole reservation process. So I've done a lot of research ever since I've been hired, whether it's just a Google search or any conferences I've been to, and I've been able to narrow the search down to 2, Rec Desk and then Civic Plus, or Civic Rec, but now it's Civic Plus. Rec Desk is the system that OSD just acquired for their community ed and rec program. And then Civic Plus is what is doing that's the program doing the new village website. And then they've got a recreation module that we could add on to it. So it's pretty much apples to apples as far as comparison goes. It's been a while since I've received any sort of pricing, but I do remember it was very similar in pricing as well as features. They were pretty much exactly the same. So I thought this would be a good time to just kind of get the conversation going. hopefully start making some action in the fall and then implement in January.
Questions?
I didn't like the one the school district had.
You haven't linked that?
No, not yet. Is this a newer one?
This is the new one.
Okay.
The one, yep, that I think they just started
Okay.
using it. Yep.
Lynn?
So I have two questions,
Mhm.
Leanne. Is it, and we might not know this right now, but we'll access this from the village website. So when the village website is through the Civic Plus,
Mm-hmm.
if we do the other one, will it send us essentially out of? Does that make sense?
I believe so.
And it'll go
yes.
to the rec desk
Correct.
server.
Mhm.
So I wonder if that should be something we think about, just
Mhm.
because keeping it all in one server, like so that if it goes down or it needs maintenance or we need somebody to come and help us with
Mhm.
something, we already have that relationship built with for
Mhm.
the village website.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense. Yep.
And then my second question is, have we reached out to other municipalities to see what they use for their reservations?
Yes, and the majority use RecDesk.
Oh.
With a couple, I think, gosh, I believe it was Fitchburg, either Fitchburg or Stoughton also used Civic Rec, but the majority use RecDesk.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Even the ones that, because Civic Plus
Mm-hmm.
is a website that lots of our municipalities use for our municipal webs, their
Correct.
municipal websites.
Mhm.
They still do the other one for their
Correct.
recreation. Okay,
Mhm.
that's good to know then.
Mhm.
Maybe my first concern is not necessary.
Okay. No, I think it is.
You think so?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you can keep an eye on it, and I think you get better service once you got the whole website and everything else.
Yeah. We haven't done the full, we've done some initial training
Yep.
on the new website. Leanne probably knows more than I do, but I know like late January is sort of when we're planning on being live for the new village website. I do think there's gonna be some ability for people to, maybe pay eventually like utility bills or
Mhm.
do applications for building permits or zoning or that kind of thing. So there might already be some kind of like username, password type thing they would set up to
Oh.
have some kind of
Mhm.
account or access through the
Mhm.
village website. So I can't remember because it's been a little while for like the Civic
Mhm.
Rec if they said like that kind of transfers to if you already have sort of an account registered with the village and you already
Correct.
signed up for park board agendas and that kind of thing. If you can still, if that's still your same account to then reserve a park shelter
Mhm.
or whatnot, because it's certainly, I know we all have a million passwords flying around in our heads, and if it's one less we can do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think, not a lot of, well,
Would the
I'll
other
take
one
that
be able
back,
to
yeah.
connect to our website, though? Could we have it on the website page?
which
Oh.
one?
The RecDesk, yes, absolutely.
Both of them you can do.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So it would be similar to, like if you register for a community ed and rec class. Right now it takes you to the ActiveNet page. It would just be like that.
But it's not hooked onto the village's website.
It would take you to an external
Yeah,
Oh,
so it'd be
website.
a
Yeah.
link on
You
our
go, okay.
website to then take you to probably a new
Correct.
window or something
Mhm.
versus just staying in the window of the village
Mhm.
website.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. That was my only concern, is that if it's taking you to a new window and that server is down, now
Right.
we've
Mhm.
got two companies that we're working with, right? We were working with the village website company and we're working with this
Yeah.
new
Mhm.
one. But if other municipalities are doing that, then it's probably not.
Right.
And what's it going to cost? But they're both similar in price?
So, as I said, it's been a while since I received a specific price quote for Oregon, but both were in the 8,000 to 9,000 a year range.
Per year.
And that was last fall, I think,
That was
the last
yep.
time you got
Mhm.
pricing. So we'd reach out, again, if you guys are still interested in maybe pursuing both and just kind of having a apples to apples comparison, we'll definitely get updated
Yeah,
pricing too and
absolutely.
bring that back in
Mhm.
September. We also wanted to ask, I don't know if you guys had a chance to take a look at the demos. I have them pulled up, but they're 15-ish minutes each. I don't know if you want to watch that together or if you want to watch that after the meeting if you haven't had a chance, and we can discuss
I think one of the keys would be looking at the criteria to look at, knowing that our company does software, we always manipulate it to our advantages. And so you want to be cautious about
Right.
what that kind of guides you. It seemed very flexible, and they did a lot with saying what fields and other things that you can actually have in a database, and you have a lot of choices in regards to that. Still look at how we kind of what's going to be important, what kind of criteria do we want
Right.
to evaluate on it. So ease of use, you know, so you guys have some had experience with that. How much data they want to get into that information. One of the advantages of that really doesn't matter where, because who knows where the servers are. Some of these are floating in a ship somewhere off in the sea somewhere else. We don't know where these servers are. Really kind of relates back to me from a perspective, is the server for the website for here going to be here locally, or is that going to be off of them? You know, but that's
Right.
really not a choice of mine. Our company is all based on a remote server, so they're not anywhere else. So it's a whole other topic. But I think looking at the criteria, ease of access, ability to pay, I understand that, and maybe linking into, because it's really nice to be able to have customer contacts. Having that information so you know how to reach them and how you get access to them. So those are the ones using the park. You can market that from a perspective of
Yeah,
different things.
absolutely.
I'm not sure what else you really look at. I've been hoodwinked by many systems like this is a great system. Then we got into it like this is not a good system.
Make it look really good on the
Yes.
So, so that would be something to think about is where to do that, and maybe having, you know, this is a demo on it, but will they show you a demo? And so then you can get some better questions, have different people get different
absolutely.
perspectives. So, so there might be some of us in the park board willing to participate in some of that
Yeah,
and look at different
absolutely.
aspects of it. So I think it's great because it really concerned me to realize that when we had the different sports organizations here, it's like, I'll just email. You know,
Yes.
that's not-
Yep.
Make it easy for Leanne.
Yes.
That's,
Yes.
excellent. So,
I mean, Mark, to that point, I mean, the overall cost really isn't going to be the overall cost because there's going to be savings on your part. And
Oh,
where,
absolutely.
you know, you're going to have you have so much time sunk into reservations right now because we don't have a robust system. So, you know, let's just say it's a $10,000 system. Well, maybe it'll cost $5,000 because you're able to do other things that offset that time. You know, so it's so I'm not really worried about what
I
the cost is
completely
because it's not
agree.
really a true cost because there's stuff that we'll get back with it.
Absolutely. I believe Martin's reaction when we told him the price was, "Oh, that doesn't scare me." So
he's dealing in millions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
exactly.
Other scary things. The
He's-
whole website. This
so
is
then I
a drop
thought,
in the
what does
bucket,
scare you?
so.
But
He's
What's
busy
the price?
buying people new trucks.
yeah, that's
We're not
true.
going down there.
And then is it like just a one
All
time?
right.
Well, thank you for that research.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
We welcome that. I think all of us are in favor of that. Certainly,
Perfect.
even in the cases of, as we started getting into fees.
Yep.
You know, it started looking at that aspect.
Yeah,
and managing
absolutely.
that aspect.
Is it like a subscription fee or is it just a one time payment?
It's an annual fee. Yep.
Then you're typically assigned like a customer service manager. So
Correct.
anytime you need to have training, new staff brought on, or you're making changes or whatever, you've got access to them throughout the year to get you trained and make
The
changes.
greatest advantage of a subscription service is they maintain and keep up. And with the viruses and the security that's going
Absolutely.
around all over the place, there's many times people don't keep up on their systems, whether it's a phone, whether it's a computers. It's amazing how you pick up a tablet you haven't used in a while and it goes through all of the updates. So
Yep.
promoter of subscription, unfortunately, only people like it. It is a way. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So for next steps, just so Leanne and I are clear, are you all interested in participating in like a live Oregon specific demo? Because if so, we could do it at a park board meeting. It's a little clunky as far as hearing everybody, but we can try to make that work. We could also do something that's outside of a park board meeting. We would just have to list it for potential quorum. And we could do it in this room or something. Otherwise, we can get an updated, quote and demo, come back with some more information, just come back with recommendations. I don't know if beyond just what's available on the
Thoughts?
website, if you're interested in seeing a demo.
I would go the second route because you're the ones that are going to use it. So I mean, we could say what we like or don't like about it, but in the end, we're not using it. So really, it doesn't matter as long as it's something that you think is going to work for the community and it's going to be, a boon as instead of a, something bad. It's, I'd rather,
Yeah.
come back with a recommendation. And at that point, if we want, once you have it set up, then maybe you could always do a demo too, say, no, okay, this is how we have it set up. This is what it is. Then you get the sports groups in or other people in and do something like that. That's just my thoughts.
Lynn?
Yeah, I was going to piggyback off Andy's thoughts. I think just a recommendation. I think, to be honest with you, the thing I would want more is some feedback from our neighbors
Yeah,
who
absolutely.
each use these different aspects. It's kind of what you said, Mark. You don't necessarily know until you're in it and you're using it whether it's great. The demos are always going to look great. I would really love to hear, Fitchburg's like, we really love it, but this one thing we're never going to be able to fix, and it is a problem, and our sports orgs have trouble with that. Like, that's the information I would want to know in making this
absolutely.
decision. So I don't know how much time you have, but if you can reach out to like the network
Oh,
of
absolutely.
people in the area to get an idea of each of these, their feedback I think would be most interesting to me.
Absolutely.
But I like the idea where you can use, if I pay my water bill, that I can also use the same. I like that.
Yeah,
You're gonna
absolutely.
enter multiple
So what I
credit
hear is
cards.
that we don't necessarily need the park board to be part of it.
Okay.
I
Yep.
would still be willing to participate in some of those
Got
demos,
it.
one way or the
Okay.
other. If others do, if we have too many, then we have to do a quorum. No, it's-
Perfect. Sounds good.
We'll at least keep you posted, and if anybody else is
Absolutely.
interested in possibly attending a demo, I guess let us know, and then we can figure out what the best setting to do that would be.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
7B, upcoming meetings, Tuesday, September 10th, and then Tuesday, October 8th. Those are our next ones. We're back on Tuesdays. So, does this look okay with most everyone? I know it's farther out, but I have no conflicts, so awesome. And then in October, a meeting with the sports organizations on the 8th. As well, so that would be after that, after the regular park board meeting.
Correct. Yep.
Any other items for future meetings?
Yeah, not for future meetings, but just future things. Could we just, at some point towards the end of the year, could you just get a summary of how the reservations went? As far
Yeah,
as shelters
absolutely.
and play space, not necessarily sports related. I mean, we can get to that too, but just the general public usage.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
the shelters, open areas, pickleball, stuff like that.
Great comment. Any other comments? We'll move down to the park board comments. Judy, you have any other comments?
I don't. I've been out of town and I love it.
That's good.
It's a very good thing.
That is a very good. Nico?
I do not.
None. Lynn?
Nope.
Andy?
National Night Out was last night. It was fun. It seemed like there were more people participating as vendors. I think it helped having the bus loop parking lot tore up, so Public Works had, and the fire trucks were intermixed with everything else, so it didn't seem as spread out, and there was a lot of people walking around.
Awesome. Wonderful. Jamie? Nothing more for me, so we'll call for an adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Judy makes that, second by Lynn. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So moved. Thank you, staff.
Thank you much.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Dan.
Is